Hi, everyone. Whether you're tuned in from your office desk or maybe just chilling at a cafe with your headphones on, I am absolutely thrilled to have you here for this deep dive. We've got some truly transformative stuff to unpack today. Welcome to Empower Fen-tastic Life. Find your power, live without limits. Today, we're exploring this brilliant concept from psychologists Mel Silberman and Freda Hansberg, laid out in their book, PeopleSmart. We are going to completely demystify the secret sauce behind real professional and personal success. All right, let's get right into it. Have you ever noticed this kind of classic trap at work? You see these incredibly brilliant people. Folks who can process data like a literal supercomputer, off the charts IQs, but they keep getting passed over for promotions. Why does that happen? Well, it's because raw intellect just isn't enough anymore. Sure, a high IQ might get your foot in the door, but high PQ, that's your interpersonal intelligence, your empathy, your ability to collaborate, that is the actual game changer that gets you to the top. It's the real key to unlocking your full potential. So, what does it actually mean to be people smart? Basically, it's this amazing ability to build rock-solid relationships, connect easily with folks, and seamlessly blend what you need with what they need. But here's the absolute best part. It's a learnable ability. You see, so many of us fall into this trap of thinking that being great with people is just some genetic lottery. Like, you're either born a charismatic extrovert or you're just out of luck. Total myth. Being people smart is a skill set. It's exactly like training a muscle at the gym. If you put in the reps, you will absolutely get stronger. To help us build that muscle, the authors mapped out this incredible 8-skill playbook. If office politics or personal dynamics ever feel like trying to navigate a dense jungle, well, consider this your ultimate survival guide. It breaks all human interaction down into 3 neat little buckets: internal and expressive, interactive, and navigating friction. Now, we don't have time to cover the whole shebang today, but we are going to deep dive into the absolute critical ones so you can start using them right away. Let's kick things off with our very first skill: expressing yourself clearly and honestly. True professionalism isn't about using fancy jargon or overcomplicated explanations. It's actually the exact opposite. When you're communicating, you really want to avoid dropping vague hints or over-packaging your message. Think about it like this. If someone asks you for directions, do you hand them a beautifully simple, easy-to-read map, or do you hand them a confusing riddle? High IQ individuals, they hand over the map every single time. They make it practically effortless for others to understand exactly where they're coming from. Let's ground this in a real-world scenario. Imagine you've got a coworker who is just constantly late to your morning meetings, and it's throwing off your entire day. A person with low PQ might just sigh really loudly, maybe roll their eyes, or act super passive-aggressively, basically making that coworker guess why they're mad. But someone who is people smart, they skip the games. They'll just speak directly and politely, saying something like, "Hey, when you arrive 15 minutes late, it pushes our whole team's schedule back, and we end up having to rush through the agenda." See? No emotional attacks, no guessing games, just crystal clear, honest communication. Moving right along, we hit a skill that honestly gets misunderstood all the time: asserting your needs. I want to be perfectly clear on this one. Being people smart absolutely does not mean being a pushover. It doesn't mean you just smile, nod, and agree with everyone just to keep the peace. Honestly, that's a low PQ trap. Real interpersonal intelligence is about being decisive. It's having the guts to say no when you need to, but, and here's the kicker, doing it without ever crossing the line into hostility or aggression. The core idea here is that asserting your needs means defending your own rights without stomping all over somebody else's. Picture this. It's a typical Friday afternoon. It's 4:30 p.m., you're finally wrapping up, and boom, a colleague dumps this massive, urgent task right on your desk. Now, you don't have to explode in anger, but you also don't have to suffer in silence and stay at the office until 8 p.m. A high PQ response is politely but firmly declining for that day. You could say, "I really can't take this on this afternoon without messing up my other deadlines, but let's sit down first thing Monday morning and figure out a better workflow for next week." See what happened there? You protected your boundaries, but you totally preserved the relationship. All right, let's weave together 2 of the most powerful concepts from the playbook: exchanging feedback and resolving conflict. It all comes down to how we frame these things in our heads. Most of us are terrified of feedback, right? And we run for the hills when there's conflict. But if you want to be truly people smart, you've got to flip that script. You need to look at feedback as the essential fertilizer for your professional growth. And conflict, it is definitely not a battle to the death. It's just a catalyst. It's a hidden opportunity to uncover these amazing win-win solutions that you otherwise never would have found. Let's look at how this plays out at home. Imagine you and your partner are trying to plan a vacation. and you're clashing. You really want the beach, but they are dead set on the mountains. A low PQ approach means throwing on your defensive armor, digging your heels in, and fighting to win the argument. But the high BQ approach, you drop the ego. You actually listen to their side without attacking it, and you team up to find that win-win. Maybe you realize, wait, we both just desperately need to relax. So you find a gorgeous lakeside resort that gives you that relaxing beach vibe right in the middle of mountain scenery. That is exactly what it looks like to use conflict as a catalyst. Okay, next up is what the authors call the most comprehensive skill in the entire book, shifting gears. Now, in academic psychology, they'd call this behavioral flexibility, but let's translate that into normal human terms. Shifting gears just means reading the room and tweaking your style when whatever you're currently doing clearly isn't working. It's having the self-awareness to realize that you just can't use a rigid, one-size-fits-all approach when you're dealing with human beings. So you've got to ask yourself, are you stuck in one gear or are you shifting gears? Think of conversation like driving a car with a manual transmission. You would never, ever stand first gear to merge onto a fast-moving highway, right? The engine would be screaming and you'd basically go nowhere. The exact same logic applies to how we talk to people. If you're in a meeting delivering this very analytical, data-heavy pitch, and you suddenly notice your client is completely glazing over, you have to shift gears. You smoothly pivot away from the spreadsheet and maybe share a casual, engaging real-world story to pull their attention back in. If one gear is failing, just shift to another. We've covered some pretty fantastic theories so far, but let's be real. Knowledge without action is basically just trivia. How do we actually make this happen in our own lives? I want to pivot from the theory to a really practical, straightforward roadmap, because I want to prove to you that you absolutely do not need a psychology degree to do this. You can start using this playbook today, literally right after this explainer, to elevate your everyday interactions. Here is the author's super pragmatic 5-step plan. Step 1 is desire. You have to genuinely want to improve how you connect with people. Step 2 is assess. Take a really honest look in the mirror at your own strengths and weaknesses across those 8 skills we talked about. Step 3 is learn. Absorb the actual strategies, which, hey, you're already doing right now. Step 4 is practice. Intentionally use these tools in your daily life with your coworkers, your friends, your family. And finally, step 5 is habit. Through practice and repetition, these new responses just become your intuitive baseline. You don't even have to think about it anymore. You just naturally become PeopleSmart. So as we wrap up, I want to leave you with a little challenge. Which of the 8 skills are you going to practice in your very next conversation? Are you going to try asserting your needs, or maybe focus on just expressing yourself a bit more clearly? Pick just one, give it a shot today, and just watch how the dynamics start to shift. You've been listening to Power Fantastic Life, Yarger Empowerment Academy. See you next time. Bye-bye.